Hello and welcome back to the Cornhusker Cooldown once again. My name is Patrick Patio. We have Joe, mojojoe, and we have a guest this week, Kevin, a toasted bagel, the jungler for Huskers Black. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Doing pretty well. We have won most of our games, so it's hard to say we're doing bad. So
We're getting there.
Hey, we won a game.
We won a scrim. We won one game in a scrim. That's big.
Oh yeah.
We take those when we get it. But Varsity did win their series versus ISU this week.
Iowa State, yeah. We won 2-1. It was, I think, expected for us to win, but obviously Game 2 was not our finest moments. So
We'll definitely get to Game 2.
Yeah, we'll get to Game 2.
That one has a lot of discussion. Game 1, not as much discussion.
Game 1, and I think both Game 1 and Game 3 were pretty convincing. I think it was in that idea of you have control over the game for most of the time, but not necessarily like outright winning in 18, 19 minutes or whatever. So
yeah, it was a pretty fun series. We had they had the Scion all 3 games.
All 3 games.
That's a little interesting. I'm like, is this guy?
So he's a 2-trick Scion Gragas, and to be honest, like when you're essentially their best player on the team and you're on Scion every game, it's a lot less noticeable that you're the best player. And when we know you're going to pick Scion, it's very easy to like know what you're going to pick into it, so you can more easily prepare. So essentially, I think like them picking Scion was actually bad, despite it being essentially his 1 trick.
Right.
Because it's just like we have counter pick no matter what, and we can easily prepare counter pick, and you can't carry on Scion if I'm real. So
yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of similar counter picks you can play for either Gragas or Scion too.
Yes, Gragas, like the only thing is like he's a neutralizer, and he does just more damage.
Yeah.
Like in ways he can be an assassin almost. So he looked very good on it in the previous series against SCSMT, so we wanted to ban it out of the Scion, and that's what we did, and I mean it paid off for us. So
yeah. I was definitely impressed by his Gragas, so I was happy that he wasn't on Gragas. Though he did have some pretty strong, like he had a strong performance individually on Scion.
I think it's like, despite me saying it, like he did well. He didn't. He got solo killed, I think 2 or 3 times. I know he got solo killed twice, but I mean he got counted both games, so it's inevitably he's going to be a little bit behind. Did well in CS, had some good ult and sort of half engages with the Scion champ, because you can't. It's not as reliable as an engage, but yeah, I think he was by far the best player on the team for all 3 games. So
yeah, absolutely. Though I do think Game 2. They had another outstanding player with their ADC on the Zeri.
I don't even think so. Game 2, I would like to say, I don't think like any one of them had a super amazing game, right? More on the idea that we had a lot of obvious mistakes. We had poor engages, getting caught out in side lanes, just not trading super well. And I mean, I don't think it's fully on drafts, but I think problems did start when in draft we gave him Seraphine, Galio, Diana, and when you have your worst players on super easy champs like Seraphine or Galio, I mean, just the ease of execution of the champs, and sort of even if they fall behind, they're still going to be pretty useful. Because in Game 1, their mid laner played Xerath, and he got really far behind, and it was pretty useless. But now he's on Galio, so even though he falls behind, it's like
It's still ult.
He can still ult, he can still CC, do everything Galio does at the same level of efficiency as a fed Galio, essentially.
I mean, that's fair. But like you said, Xerath did get that first game.
Yeah,
get beaten, which actually kind of can tie me into talking about Alex Arkin, the player of the series. I don't know if you thought that was the stellar performance.
Yeah, he did pretty well. I don't think any one player had like super 1v9 games in it or was dominating every game. And in Game 2, I think everyone had a poor performance. So yeah, I think Alex deserves it, especially because Game 1, he did really, really well. He was up 40, 50 CS at 12 minutes. So yeah.
Looking at their gold leads, he contributed most to the overall gold lead, and did some pretty impactful ults early on. Some of the early on drag fights that I noticed, and very, very dominant performance, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 20 over the course of the series, he was 28 and 29. and most of those deaths coming in game 2. So just a great performance from the side of Arkin.
Yeah.
He's got to get back to Masters.
I mean, all of us got to get back to where we were. So.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say get back to Masters. I'm like, you got to get to
No.
Masters first, Joe. We got to get to Diamond first. But game 3.
Game 3 was
kind of a return to normalcy for you guys.
Yeah.
They first picked Sion again. Like it almost looked like it was starting to be the same draft.
Yeah. We did Sejuani this time as opposed to Jarvan. I think one issue with Jarvan is that he feels sort of unreliable for engages, or just like if you fail his EQ, he kind of isn't doing much. Whereas Sejuani's at least that you can miss her R and it's not as committal of an engage as Jarvan, and you're still just going to be a tank at the end of the day. So we just wanted to mix it up a little bit. So, but yeah, I think overall we just had counter picks where we wanted them. Morgana was not very useful. So
I never like Morgana pick in a Nautilus. I feel like I see it picked, and it just never does what you want it to. It's supposed to be like, oh, it's supposed to like counter the entirety of Nautilus because you just stuff all of his engage. But the Nautilus just like doesn't hook, and then Morgana's like,
Yeah. You're in this limbo type situation, and then he just walks on you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, you cry.
That I'd be crying.
yeah, she just doesn't provide the same utility as Karma or Lulu or Yumi or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it shows, I say so.
Yeah, and with how engage oriented their team was, picking a Vigar and a Zaya, it was just so hard for them to play the game in general. Like Lissandra wasn't able to actually get any of the engages that she wanted. Vi definitely wasn't able to. I specifically remember mid lane them going on to you, and you guys just wipe them because what are they supposed to do? They don't have like the tools.
Yeah, I mean they're engaging into the Zaya Vagar, which is what they want to happen. So.
Yeah. So really stellar job. 2-1.
Yeah.
For this week, and
honestly could have been 2-0, but just execution errors in game 2. And then obviously I talked a little about draft. It's like some of it is to draft. They had super easy execution champs, so it happens.
Yeah, definitely does. But there's other games this week in CCL. Actually, right now as we're recording this, Augustana versus BVU is happening.
Good luck to them.
Yeah. Go Augustana! Unashamed fan. Then we had DSU versus USD. 2-0.
Clean. Yeah. I mean, it was going to be dominant the entire time. So.
Yeah. Though the other close series besides, Augustana BVU is going to be a close series. This one, NDSU versus SDSMT, also was potentially going to be a close series, and I think it was closer than we expected.
I actually thought it was less close than I expected. I thought I was on STSMT's side of like, I think they're going to take a game off. I think they could win, but they could have won game 1. But I mean, if you go watch game 2, I think it was pretty convincing that NDSU was the better team. And I'm disappointed in STSMT because I felt like last semester they pushed up to be a much better team they were in the past, and they kept all their players. So I felt like, hey, this is your time to push even higher if you want to try to get that top 2, top 3 that you could never reach before. But I mean, it looks like they're just falling short, to be honest. So.
Yeah, it's definitely scary, especially now that we have ISU here. It's no longer the same 4 teams making it to LAN every single week. So the teams that are kind of at the top of that bubble really have to fight and push for it.
Yeah.
So SDSMT, Coach T, you gotta let them know the team. you gotta let them know what's up so they can focus up, because we always enjoy seeing SDSMT at the LANs. Though we don't know what ISU can bring, so we'll have to see what you guys.
Well,
got.
I mean, we did just play against them, so we know what
we did. We know what they have. They have Sion.
They have Sion. They got Affiliates will just be banned against them every week. So.
Yeah. I don't think your power rankings changed.
My power rankings are the exact same. So, I can go through them just real quick so people can remember. But it goes UNL, NDSU, ISU, DSU, SDSMT, then Augustana, BVU, USD. I mean, just going through the games that happened this week, I don't think there was going to be a whole lot of change. The only two teams that you would move is like ISU and SCSMT if you had them differently placed. The reason why I didn't put ISU above NDSU, despite having a solid performance against us in some ways, was like I do think it should have been a 2-0 from us, but it felt like more of us losing the game than them winning the game per se. And then I think NDSU, especially looking at game 2, when you play, it was a dominant game like our game 1 and game 3. So I just thought, I feel like NDSU played SCSMT better than ISU did. So I didn't want to switch them around. So.
That's fair. I have more of a hot take for me.
Yes, you do.
That is that ISU now is seated at number 2. They took a game off us, guys. What the heck? Clearly they're something. No, I think you make a fair point in like the fact that majority of it was us losing game 2. But I think that same thing can just be said for that game 1 for NDSU versus SDSMT, except it just so happened to swing at a super late game elder fight and like it went the whole 9 yards. The fact that NDSU were not able to clean up as soon as they were, I think they should have won that game sooner, like a lot sooner.
It just worries you that if these mistakes happen over and over again.
Right. So I have it at UNL, ISU, NDSU, DSU, SDSMT, Augustana, USD, and BVU. Not too much different besides ISU.
ISU climbing up. I mean, I do think they're better than DSU, but yeah. I think when ISU and DSU plays, I hope that's streamed because it would be very fun to watch. So
yeah, that's gonna be a good one. Another good one is what we have this upcoming week versus NDSU.
1 versus 2, essentially.
1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3, depending on who. 1 versus the old undefeated regular season champion.
I do believe us and NDSU are the only 2 undefeated teams.
We are. We're the only ones left. So this is the match to watch.
Yes, it'll be streamed on Nebraska Esports.
Yes, it will.
Better watch.
So that'll be a really good series. Have you guys already started doing some scouting that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I won't say too much, so.
Oh, you're gonna keep that secret because, that's fair. But other than that, the other games are assumedly going to be pretty standard. We expect it all to go the way that we expect. So
STSMT versus BVU, both of us have 2-0 for STSMT. I mean, while they're the 5th best team, the 5th best team is much better than the 6th best team. So I just think whenever it's the top 5 versus bottom 3, it's going to be pretty cut and dry. So
So we have. But I'm assuming you probably agree with us that SDSMT we have winning 2-0. Then ISU against USD probably also winning 2-0.
2-0.
And DSU versus Augustana, DSU winning 2-0.
Yeah.
But we haven't said what we think that our games are going to be.
Well, obviously I would say 2-0 as a player, but
as a spectator, Kevin, what's your?
I'm liking our odds. I think our performance has been super strong so far, like going into these games, and kind of like Joe said earlier, it's just like the small mistakes that like any team would make and any team has to make at some point. And I mean, it happens, and it's all about refining those mistakes and making less of them over time. And I think going forward, we know what not to do in that situation from game 2 last time, and so I think we're in a really good spot going forward.
Yeah.
So is that 2-0?
I'd say 2-0.
2-0.
I think,
I want to say, after the game, we talked about it a little bit, and I know our support specifically said it was okay that we lost game 2, just the idea that, like, it sort of keeps our egos in check, makes us, like, be able to see what we can improve on still. Because, I mean, in the past, we know NDSU would go essentially, 14-0, 16-0 in games, and they wouldn't win playoffs, so.
Somehow. It happens every year. They dominate in the regular season and then can't close it out in the playoffs. But I definitely think that we're favorites. I am not going to say 2-0. I'm going to say 2-1. Just because both teams have this very dominant majority of the time, but then randomly just like,
questionable moment.
What is this? So I think the fact that could happen makes me think that there's a good chance that they can pick up a game. Though I do think that we're favorites going into it. So that should be very fun for varsity, but
We have JV teams as well. So
as well. Huskers Black did not have a game
Dang it.
last week.
Dang it.
Hey, we have one coming up.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
But Huskers Scarlet, they went 2-1 against the overgeared retirement home.
yes,
Big fella Tommy up in the top lane.
I'm his number one fan. I'm not gonna lie. I know I play for this university and I love being on this team, but big fella Tommy kind of has my heart.
Yeah, I mean he had a pretty good game, though. I do think that Longbard was probably better in the matchup.
Yeah,
I would agree.
yeah. So when I was looking at this, and I felt like, who would I give the player series to? It obviously came down to Kelpo or Longbard. I think Longbard did well in all 3 games. Then Kelpo, he did good in all like games 1 and 3, but like game 2 specifically, he had a really good performance and got a pentakill. So
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Pentakill for Preston on
Jinx.
Come on,
That's
Jinx.
huge.
yeah, I mean the pentakill machine. So
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, whenever you're on Jinx, those resets they stack up.
they're deadly.
So yeah, I think it was a really good series. I think they learned a lot. Similar.
Yeah, I think it was similar to ours, where when you lose the game and it's very obvious mistakes that you lost to, I think it's a okay way to lose.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to be able to point out your mistakes and improve on those mistakes very quickly, so very easily.
Yeah, and then so in the next week, Husker Scarlet is going up against the Poison Panthers. They're a fine team. They haven't shown too much. They actually had a bye week, so they're only 1-0.
Do you know if they won their first game or not?
Yes, they did. They're
Okay.
1-0. So it should be. I have us favorited.
I think it could be similar to the last series. I think I looked at the ranks and it's roughly the same as last series, so
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Yeah, and then Huskers Black. We're up against the Argonauts next.
It's kind of a dope name.
It's a pretty good name.
A little intimidating, but you know.
You're intimidated?
No,
you
no,
can't.
never.
Oh,
Wait.
you can't be
No, my bad,
intimidated.
my bad.
No.
Oh,
You're the jungler.
I mean, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So right now they're 1-1. So the Argonauts are not undefeated.
About to be 1 and 2.
Scarlet. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Definitely expecting that to be a very fun series. I guess, and this is a really good time to just start asking, since you're on Huskers Black, you're getting ready to play in these games. How long have you been playing League?
I started in January of 2021, kind of during the pandemic. I got into it when we had these hybrid classes going on. So when I was stuck at home for a while, I kind of moved from Overwatch to a bunch of my friends in high school were playing League, and so kind of hopped on the train. I feel like it's kind of one of those games where you need someone else to kind of coax you into it because the learning curve is so high.
Yeah.
So I had so many friends playing it that like I just hopped along. I played Lux mid. I mean like pretty easy.
I started with Graves mid, so
Graves mid?
I was Graves mid back in season 6. So
That's terrible. Well, I mean, so you went from Lux mid, now Viego one trick, and
sadly a Viego one trick. A little ashamed of it because I'll never be able to play him, and it's kind of sad. But
it could be worse.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that happens in competitive whenever you're one trick. But I guess what brought you to the competitive scene? Was it still just that community that?
Yeah. So I mean, my roommate and I currently we play a lot together. We really enjoy the community experience, like talking with each other while we play. The strategy behind it, especially, like the wins feel that much better than when you're just playing alone, and the losses don't feel quite as bad. And so I kind of was excited about the idea of, well, we're in this bigger school community. Why don't we join the team here and see how that goes? And I've really enjoyed it so far.
That's awesome. What has been one of your one of the best parts, one of the worst parts of being here at Nebraska Esports and being on a team?
I really do like the community aspect. I'd say that's probably my favorite part. I like talking with all the people I've met, strategizing together. It really does feel like a team effort here. Least favorite part, I mean, it just stems from the fact that I'm kind of a one trick. The problem is I play Viego. So my main role is jungle, but I also play top. And so like my highest mastery champion is like, it's Viego with like over 1 million points. And then my second highest is like Camille. And then my third highest is Gwen. And so like my jungle champ pool, I play them, but I like. There's definitely like a lot of improvement and a lot of work that I need to do to get to the point where, like, yeah, I can be on that VA level, but
yeah, or getting it so that it's not banned every series.
exactly, yeah. Maybe I'll just
banned every series, no matter if it's a scrim or a stage game.
play 80 million games of Kane and then go.
Kane or Gwen, it's
Or
a
Gwen.
flex,
Or yeah.
so I mean that's a better target ban.
Been recently coaxed into a moo maybe, but we'll see.
Yeah. And then, so what brought you here to Nebraska, or in general? Like, did you grow up here? What major are you? Kind of.
Yeah. So, grew up in Omaha. Went to high school there. Lived my whole life there. Was going to kind of explore different places for college, but then ultimately decided to stay here because I'm close to it's like being from Omaha. It's kind of far enough away where you get that independent feel, but then also at the same time, like, you can go back home. I can visit family. I have a friend network here. I really enjoy it. Yeah, and then I'm a biochemistry major on the pre-med track, applying to medical schools. Hopefully that goes well, but you never know.
Yeah, that'll be great. Lots of stuff coming up in the future, but we did just have in league in general. Did plans finish by the time we're recording this? Plans are finished.
Yes.
They just finished. And definitely an entertaining one.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite play-in so far, because I felt like all 8 teams are actually good enough to make it out in some ways, but yeah.
Yeah. I'd say, basically almost all of them.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 teams who had obviously a little less of a chance because it just went 0-2, but even then, they didn't, like, even pre-tournament expectations and then in tournament, they didn't feel like super bad teams that were just like getting stomped every game. So
yeah, there wasn't a game that didn't feel satisfying to watch in one way or another. Like
No.
there were good moments in all of them.
Yeah, super exciting things. But let's
do we want to start with the teams that made it into Swiss, or
let's start by pulling off the Band-Aid and the pain. Not about pain, but about
100 Thieves
who robbed us of the joy of getting out of play-ins. Not the best showing that they've ever had.
I mean,
They
obviously disappointing.
They started off strong most games. I mean, like, they were in most of the series, they were up a game 1.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just fell off.
I feel like they almost bought into the, I don't want to say fiesta-like, but just like that sort of keep on fighting Brazilian LLA style sometimes, where they just took fights just because they could.
To be fair, that's how they did. Like, that's how they've been playing.
Yes, but I feel like when you're in that major region versus minor region, there should be a certain amount of you win lane, and then you don't need to always just take a fight for whatever reason.
That's fair. I mean,
they did it. Sniper should not have been in Casante so much, if I'm honest. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, the worst thing about Hunt Thieves was they just didn't have a good read on the meta. Yeah. I don't like most of their drafts. The Vex was horrible, like 6K goal down, and it's obviously just disappointing in general. I don't know if Cloud9 would have done better, to be honest, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, the big difference was, and it really showed in their last series and then that last game, was how much nerves it seemed like they had from the outside.
It is 4 rookies on the international stage, so.
Yeah. Which is, first off, an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah,
that is awesome. And whenever you're on this stage, you're held to a very high standard, and when you don't meet that standard, you catch some flame on the side.
I'm sure it doesn't help too when you have as a backdrop, you have this kind of stereotype that NA isn't a really competitive region. So you kind of have to feel like you have to own up to that in a way.
Yeah.
And then when you don't, it makes it that much worse.
Yeah, and especially because it's like, oh no, we're competitive, and then in play-ons we usually are. We usually have a really good showing.
Jad brought it up. We have never not made it to play-ons before this year. So, however, every year, because it was after the R7 series, every year we have lost at least a game to a minor region in play-ins.
There you go.
So,
and one of those teams, R7.
R7. Most likely the future Latin America team in the Northern Conference. Not my favorite team in LLA, if I'm honest. I'm not a Summit fan. If he didn't pick Renekton, I actually think they make it out. I think Renekton, like, just pick Jax or Camille for him, and he just does more. So.
His Renekton did look good though. Like.
Kind of, but so the issue was when he would do well in lane, but when he got to team fights into the later games, he just wasn't doing as much damage as those two champions were, and he couldn't split as hard as those two champions were. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you wanted to play utility, you just don't pick Renekton as well. I don't think they had like a super dominant 2v2 top side that they leveraged super well. So, I mean, I'm a famous Renekton hater, but like in general, I just thought if it was a different champion, they could have done better, especially in some of the games where it got big leads. So I don't think it was the sole reason why they didn't make it out. I don't think their bot lane and mid lane was like uber good or like dominating anytime. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they gave us the most fun series for sure.
They were very fun to play against.
Versus was it Pain? That was that series.
They played against Hunter Thieves and Pain,
but
and
like
both of the series are very very fun.
Yeah.
So,
but the Pain one was just amazing. It was awesome the whole time.
I mean, Hunter Thieves did play against Pain as well, right? Did they? I'm trying to remember.
I think it was.
No, they didn't. Now that I think about it, because I played SoftBank in R7 PSG. But I think we got some very good previews of the Americas region, and honestly makes it feel more interesting now. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. But you just mentioned SoftBank. That's next on our list.
SoftBank.
I know we had some people in the back who were rooting for.
I'm a SoftBank believer as well,
It's on here.
as well as our producer over there.
Yeah. So.
It's just disappointing. Like PCS second seed should have been a little bit better than like I think they went 0-2 in both their series. They might have went 1-2 in the first series. But out of the teams I picked to make it out, SoftBanks was the least likely. I felt like was in place to necessarily do it. But I think all the teams this year were really competitive. So honestly, if this year was going to be one where you didn't make it out, it feels a little bit better because, I mean, again, I felt like you could make it out. And any team could make it out. So, I mean, things didn't roll your way one way or another. So, it happens.
So you did your pick'ems. Did you do your pick'ems?
Not yet. No.
Oh,
No.
okay. Because I thought it would be
For
kind of
Swiss
fun.
or?
No, to talk about the pick'ems for this.
Oh.
How accurate we were.
So mine was pretty bad.
Yours is pretty bad. We'll get to it once we finish up.
Yeah.
At least the out people, and we'll start.
We can finish all of them and then we can go for a while.
Yeah. So I guess maybe that brings us to Vikings next, who the last team to get knocked out in the.
I was a Vikings believer for everyone. They were they were really, really dominant in regular season and VCS, and then sort of fell at the last moment to GAM in the finals. I thought they were really good. They didn't show, especially their mid laner. I don't remember their name, but they had a pretty disappointing performance, to be honest. They should have been the better team out of VCS, to be honest. And I mean, they're essentially, as many people put them, mini GAM. They played pretty much similar to GAM in the same style, and I think they should have put on a better performance. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely what. I was hearing some Vikings cope maybe just before the series or for before plans, and yeah, there's just not really much that they brought that was any.
Yeah, they just didn't play to the level they should or could. So
There were some impressive moments from Levi Shivana when in the VCS GAM.
Oh yeah.
I think he kind of rolled them over a little bit there too.
That's fair. I did forget about
It was-
Shivana.
It was a little oppressive. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, you taking some notes. Taking some notes.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're not picking Shivana if you're wondering.
Well, hey,
Wow.
you're not in control.
Oh,
of
that's
that.
true.
I
You're
am.
drafting.
So they could get Shivana. We've done Shivana before.
Yeah,
in
we-
scrims.
It works.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we'll work on it.
Yeah.
But so those are all the teams that.
All the teams that got knocked out. We'll go in. we go to the 2 teams first. So Mad Lions, I didn't have them making it because I was not a bad believer, but I'm not outright surprised that they made it. They're obviously a major region team, so they should be looking to make it out. And I mean, Supa played well, Merwin played well, but I don't think Alvaro was their best player. Their supports super good engages. I don't think they needed to do anything insane in any of the games they played to, like, I wouldn't say any player in particular was so insane that it was mind-blowing or whatever. They just played their game, so.
Yeah, I mean, I also did not have them making out, but that was a little bit of a anti-Mad Lions.
You hater? Or
No.
Mad Lions hater.
Just Mad Lions. Not totally serious, but you got to back it up with your pick'ems. But not surprised.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it. There was a moment where the jungler forgot to buy a jungle item.
That is, Aloya did forget to buy a jungle item. He had to
that kind of made me laugh.
walk away from red and back.
Yeah.
It happens.
It
At least he
happens,
didn't
yeah.
buy a D-Blade, because that would have been very bad.
That would've- I mean, aren't some of the new changes for this season going to help avoid that, where like you'll get a notification?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're implementing some of that.
I haven't seen it, because I don't play jungle, so I don't really pay attention to it.
It's for any
It's
items.
kind of easy to do though. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes I'll be tabbed out too, and I'll tab back in, and okay, everyone's already at the red buff. Let me walk there, and then, well, red buff's not dying.
Yeah.
Why isn't it dying?
So I guess now you're just as good as Elyoya.
Yeah. I mean,
Basically.
we're basically the same player now.
So you've made it out of plans personally.
Yes.
That's impressive. Wow.
You're just as good as a Swiss stage team.
Yeah.
He was playing Viego too.
That is
I'm not
true.
even kidding. He was playing Viego.
He was cosplaying you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. He was
Wait.
actually doing the shout
That's
out.
why I forgot, because I forget.
Yeah. And another team that's a Swiss team is
Gam.
made it
Gam
out.
time.
Yeah.
I
Gam.
mean, to be fair, it's not surprising as well. I do think out of the minor region teams, PSG and GAM were by far the 2 favorites to make it out, and are the 2 best teams on paper and when you watch them play. I mean, they beat SoftBank and R7. R7 had a very good, I think at the end of the day, I will say R7 had a good showing. And SoftBank, as we know, is a good team. Just didn't perform as well as they could, so it's not like they had the easiest road.
Yeah.
Didn't have to play PSG, 100 Thieves, or Mad, to be fair. But
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's what they expected. And I mean, Levi did play Shyvana. We talked about it, but I don't like Shyvana. But I guess he made it work.
Yeah, it looked good, and like you said, like a lot of these teams are like, I think this is the most competitive plans that we've ever had.
Yes,
This is
definitely.
making it more exciting to watch as well. I'm very pumped for the Swiss that is going on. So that'll be really good.
I mean, yeah, we will go PSG next.
Yeah.
Everyone. So honestly, I think PSG was considered the strongest playing team, but they looked worse than I thought they would. Yeah. If you want to.
I mean, because they dropped down to the losers bracket for a second. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
they
which
had
is
to
a
play
little
100
surprising.
Thieves, but I was expecting more of them. I think a fair amount of teams didn't show what they were showing during the regular season playoffs. 100 Thieves, R7, SoftBank Vikings, and PSG all felt like they played better in their home region as opposed to play-ins.
I feel like that's a little natural though. Just the pressure
little
of
bit,
the
yeah.
moment can get to people, especially you're on this international stage. It's a little intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, PSG. I think the first day of the play-in stage, they went up against Pain Gaming, which I was really rooting for Pain, and then Pain won the first game. I was like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
This is PSG. This is the one that's like, out of all of the, if they're a major region team in a minor region,
It'd be PSG, yes.
so like the fact that they were able to take, so like I think PSG they really got into their own form by their last game versus 100 Thieves just rolling over. 100
Yes,
Thieves.
didn't they 20-1, or was that someone else? Someone destroyed 100 Thieves. But
Probably PSG.
probably PSG.
Actually, I think it was PSG. Because so they really figured it out by the end. But I remember every single caster was just really critical of their drafts in that early series. first game they had Tristana mid.
Yeah,
and-
they were sort of playing last patches. I would say the last patch the draft was fine, but
Right.
this patch when everything is nerfed for the 80 carries mid, and yeah, it took some time to get to what they needed to pick essentially. So
Yeah. But they got there in the end. Another team that did eventually get there is Pain Gaming Brazil. Let's go! They
Yeah.
made it out. That's the one that I think is the most shocking out of this.
yeah,
This group.
I think Pain was the one because when we looked at like who was probably the worst teams and plans, it was considered R7 or Pain. But to be fair, they played really, really well. I think it's a good thing for Brazil. First and last time they got out of play-ins, I believe. So.
Yeah. No, they got out in 2016.
So that was
Or-
before play-ins.
Oh, I guess that's fair.
That was when the like international wild card
Mhm.
tournament thing happened.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they had a very, very good showing. Seo had, honestly, he's their MVP for me. I think he was really good on Lucian versus 100 Thieves. So,
Yeah. I mean, he gave me nightmares for how well he was playing, and as always, they're always so fun to watch in terms of both in game and outside of game for Pain. Just very.
Seo's not 30 carries, Titan.
No, it's Teton. But I'm picturing Teton whenever he
Yeah.
gets that kill and he's just screaming at the other team.
Mhm.
Oh, it is.
Pain mega fan.
It is so good. Hey, I had them getting out of plans. That was my cope. I had PSG, GAM, and Pain all getting out.
Well, I can tell you, I had PSG getting out. Then I had 100 Thieves, SoftBank, and Vikings who did not make it out. We're hoping our either crystal ball or our Swiss stage is a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
Genji, you better go undefeated.
And then if you had done your pickups, what would you have done? Would you have just gotten them all right?
Well, I mean, hindsight bias would tell me I get it all right, but no, I would also say PSG would probably be my favorite from out of the 8 teams originally. It's hard to say for the other ones. I don't know necessarily a lot about the teams other than the 100 Thieves. I know a little bit about, but I'd probably pick PSG as my favorite too.
Yeah, I think they had. I think out of everyone that's going to be coming up in the next matches, I think PSG also, I would expect to perform best out of all
Yeah.
the playing teams.
I know Mad plays BLG, so
That's gonna be hard.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. But I mean, we won't speak too much on Swiss stage, so
Yeah,
we'll talk about it when it is over.
Yeah, we'll talk about Swiss stage when we talk about Swiss stage.
Yeah.
But I guess that's all I have.
I don't have anything else on this. Do you want to talk about anything?
I don't have anything to add.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for us. Stay tuned for any news we have on JV games. Both Huskers Black and Huskers Scarlet is going to be playing this Saturday, 6 o'clock. We have Varsity Monday at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
At twitch.tv/Nebraska Esports.
Do you know if both the JV teams are being streamed?
We'll try to get them streamed for sure. If we can. If not, we'll have them stream on their personal channels, a first-person perspective. We'll have some ways for you guys to watch, and we'll put it in the Discord. So thank you all for staying tuned to Cornhusker Cooldown. Thank you for joining us.
Of course,
It's
thanks for
been
having me.
Great.
I don't have anything.
Yeah. Hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.
Have a good night.
See ya.